Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy! Today we have Plum. This comes to us from longtime local friend Judy. Judy cut down these plum trees in her front yard about 3 years ago so they could do some additions and remodeling to their home. And she called me and said, hey, you want some of this? And I sure did, and I have quite a bit of it. And it's just been sitting around waiting to dry. I did turn her a bowl while it was green, and sure enough it cracked. That's very typical of plum. And this also is typical of plum. These cracks along the edges. This has a, speaking of cracks, a huge crack right through the pith. So I'll be removing all of that up to about here probably. Here's what I just did at the drill press. You saw me drilling a clearance hole for my chuck jaws to set against, and then I drilled a hole for my woodworm screw, and we'll just get this mounted up. And we'll see what kind of speed we can get. Looks like about 500 RPM is the best we can do. It is out of balance, but I think it'll come into balance fairly quickly. I'm going to start working on this corner with a 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. Okay, this bottom is just too bad, just too misshapen. So I'm going to work on that for a minute. Still there, but at least it's way more in balance. So I'm going to go back to this corner. Well, I'll say this for it, it's not unexpected, but this wood has gotten a lot harder now that it's dry. I remember turning when it was wet and it was quite easy. I'm going to go sharpen up. Oh, well, there's that beautiful plum color. Gotta love it. I guess I'll come back down here. It's just sort of a guessing game as far as design right now. That should do that crack, huh? Oh, still there. Not much. Yeah, okay, it's turning into something now. I don't know what, but something. Just about have it. Little tiny bit of flat here, little tiny bit here. And this will be kind of different. Let's see if I can pick the speed up some. Oh yeah. And now we're talking. There's 1200. Flat's gone, flat's gone. Nice cut too. Okay, back to the bottom. Oh well, I guess we got to mark up for a tenon. I brought my tailstock back up because that's the easiest way to mark for a tenon. Just take your pencil, lay it on there, and that gives you about the right size. I can use this diamond point tool to square up the sides of the tenon. Just barely left myself enough room there to work. Now I need to clean up my mess. This is a 3/8 inch gouge, by the way. Okay, time for sanding. I got a real nice finish off my very sharp gouge. So I'm going to be able to start at 180 grit The lathe will be spinning in reverse at about 330 RPM, and I'll show you that as soon as I get my mask on. Now these cracks, to me, are a highlight of the bowl. They're a feature. I really like them. You don't get those with every kind of wood. So I will be probably not till I get to the inside. And once I get to the inside, I'll take a piece of sandpaper and I'll run it back and forth through those cracks and clean them up as best I possibly can. Some of them are so small I won't be able to do that, but I'll still try my best to clean those cracks up, and they'll be a feature. So that's what I'm going to be doing for a little bit, and I'll bring you back when it's time to put some finish on. See you in a bit. This is so incredibly smooth, I wish you could feel it. Maybe the smoothest ever. I'm applying feed and wax for several reasons. It even enhances that smoothness. It's something that you just want to touch, but also because I can put on a second coat after I've done the inside, and I want to get those cracks real good, but I'm not going to do that now. Boy, when I look in the monitor, that pink, that plum color really came out, didn't it? See, those cracks are much cleaner than they were. I'm going to let that set up for about a half an hour. I'll buff it up and I'll bring you back when it's time to start working on the inside. See you in a bit. I guess I gotta go sharpen up. Well, we're about a 1/4 inch already. That's deep enough. We'll try our negative rake scraper. Well, that was about as quick and easy as it comes, huh? Time for sanding. This will be a 2-stage sanding process. I'm going to use my Sandoflex to sand the bark and maybe these cracks a little bit. I'm not sure if I can or not. I'll try it. And then when that's done, I'll switch to my 2-inch disc starting at 80 grit, because I didn't get quite, well, I don't know, I probably don't have to start at 80, but I'm going to take off all these little bits and pieces on the cracks. Starting at 80 grit and working up through 400 as I did on the outside. And I'll show you both of those as soon as I get my mask on. Not really getting the cracks very well. It did a nice job on the bark, and it doesn't change how the bark looks. It just cleans it up and smooths it out so it feels nice when you touch it. And then with the lathe spinning forward at about 350 RPM, whoa, yeah, it's not necessarily these high points that are catching me, it's these cracks that catch that bottom edge of the disc. I have to stay up. I have to stay up like this, and it takes a light touch. If I press too hard, then that bottom goes down and that crack comes around and catches it, and it's a son of a gun. So this will take some time. I'll bring you back in a little bit. Well, it was a pain, all right, the sanding, but it's done now, and I'm ever so grateful for that. Most of my time was spent with the little strips of sandpaper going back and forth between those cracks to clean them out. Some of them are so small I couldn't even get sandpaper in there, but I still picked at it with little tiny pliers that I have and tweezers. It's going to look pretty nice. I'll use a little brush here in a minute to get inside those cracks and probably get this bark a little better than I'm getting it. I've just got some of the feeding wax in that can there. Then I'll just force it into these cracks, inside and out. And then we'll get the tenon off of there. But that's going to be tomorrow because it's 6:30 almost, and I got to eat dinner, don't I? First I got to cook it. Yay, pork chops. Hard to beat pork chops any old time. So I will let that set again for about a half hour, buff it up, and I'll see you in the morning and we'll get that tenon off of there. See you tomorrow. My regular viewers that have seen me remove a tenon a lot of times know that I always leave the center hole so that I can find the middle of the bowl when I put it up here on my wood block with a non-slip surface. Well, this time my old age is showing, I guess. I simply didn't do it. I can kind of see where the center was. I guess I cleaned this up, and I cleaned it up too dang good. So what I have to do is take my center finder and make a couple of marks on here to find my center so that I know when I put it up here that I have it centered. So I'm going to pause a moment and do that. I'll be right back. Well, I said I thought I could see the center. You probably can't see it, but I've marked it right there. And if I put this on here, no matter which way I turn it, that's pretty much the middle. So I poked a tiny little hole there. This is just kind of a critical thing. You really need that center point. So I hope it's somewhat accurate. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let's find out. I'm going to bring up my tool rest. I'm going to spin the piece up. Well, it's not good, is it? We can see that. Well, I'll never be able to do it a second time. So I'm gonna go with that. I think it'll be okay. I'm going to spin the lathe up at about 600 RPM. I'm going to take this 3/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge and commence to removing the tenon. Now the critical part is this bottom edge right here. Right where it meets the bowl bottom, that's where it's going to show if it's centered or not. So I need to get that as smooth as I can. It's off just ever so slightly. I better put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. I like pointing out my mistakes so that you don't make them someday. You can see right here where the tenon, remaining part of the tenon, is completely flush with the bowl bottom. And then if you come around over here, it's not. It's close, but it's not. So I need to take another pass or two and try and get that smoothed out. There we go, there we go. Now I just want to get that tenon as small as I can. And that's about it. Now I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch swept back bowl gouge so I can get in there tighter, closer, and I'm going to adjust my tool rest a little bit tighter and a little bit higher. Boy, I wish I hadn't done that. It just makes the job so much more difficult. Now I'm going to slow the speed down to about 400 RPM and just keep working it away. A little bit of that tenon just broke off. You can see there it's missing. So that makes it even more difficult. I'd like to get it smaller, but I don't think I can because of that breakaway there. So at about 200 RPM, I'm going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl. Lots of pressure towards the headstock. Right hand on the gouge, left hand on the switch. And when that little nub stops turning or breaks away, we'll be done. Well, turned out better than I had hoped for. There you go, Tuffy. I met the standards. The piece is cut all the way away, but it's still attached until I go like that. So now I'll just take it over here to the workbench, sand it up, sign it, get it finished, and I'll be right back. Be sure you stick around at the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. Let's talk cracks for a minute. I not too long ago saw a post in a woodturning group. A gentleman posted a picture of a piece of wood that was just beautiful, just a gorgeous piece of wood. But it had some hairline cracks in it. And he said he just wasn't going to be able to turn it. And I said, well, why not? Why not? And he said, I'm not going to risk my life over some cracks in a piece of wood. Well, golly, if I didn't turn wood with cracks in it, I just about wouldn't be turning anything at all. And let me say that I'm not telling you to do anything you feel is not safe. I'm not telling you that at all. I'm just telling you that I turn wood with cracks all the time. You just have to look it over. Now these cracks, you can see they stop at the heartwood. And they're just not going to go any further. And remember that huge crack across the bottom that I had to whittle away probably 3/4 of an inch of wood before I got rid of that crack? There's still a little hint of it here, right here. But you can see it doesn't go anywhere. If it doesn't go anywhere, it's not going to get worse. I just don't understand. There's the bottom all finished up. Such a pretty piece of wood. I love the bark. What's interesting about the cracks in the plum is they never break the bark edge. The bark edge stays intact. Now you'll see here that it's missing a piece of bark. That's simply because it's missing, not because it came apart, because you can see the rest of them did not come apart. That piece was just missing in the beginning. But it's just a pretty piece, don't you think? I love it. Thank you, Judy, for sending this to me for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about one a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are most welcome and I enjoy reading them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.